Mastery doesn't announce itself with noise, it builds through relentless repetition. Shakur Stevenson has been approaching this moment like gravity itself was pulling him toward it. Methodical and patient, never forcing what wasn't ready. Both men carry Olympic pedigree, but their paths couldn't be more different. Shakur discovered early that boxing favors those whose minds operate faster than their fists. This collision has been simmering for years because Shakur doesn't hunt down big names. They find him, and Teofimo Lopez has always been the most explosive question mark waiting for an answer. The way he's maintained focus while keeping that deadly precision sharp tells you everything.
Position, man, just in case. Especially with somebody fast like him with timing. You can't be out of position.
Yeah.
He strong as hell. He picked me up in there. It was fun though. Just to be in the ring with him, share the ring with him, test his IQ out a little bit, see some of the moves he doing, and I'm gonna go take with me when I go fight. So I appreciate Dre.
You gonna run it back again?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Shakur's approach centers on elimination, stripping away space, timing, and belief, until his opponent starts throwing punches at ghosts and questioning everything they thought they knew. He doesn't hunt for highlight reel moments, he accumulates entire rounds with precise work, devastating counters, and movement that feels almost criminal when you're the one trying to track it down. Throughout his journey, Shakur has surrounded himself with championship minds, absorbing knowledge from legends like Andre Ward, Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather, and Terrence Crawford. That's a masterclass in experience preparing him specifically for someone like Lopez. Setbacks haven't broken him because he refuses to make the same error twice. He studies, evolves, and returns sharper than before. Shakur craves this fight because Teofimo represents pure unpredictability, and Shakur has spent his entire career proving that chaos, regardless of how talented, can always be decoded.
How's it looking
It's looking bad today. That's how it's looking. Cole gonna break some and if he don't break some shit, he gonna beat the fuck out of him. Over this. Oh. Nice. Oh.
We don't care who it is. We have no friends. Shakur, if his cousin get in the ring, he gonna get this smoke. If his brother get in the ring, he gonna get this smoke. We have no friends. Strictly business.
Tarver framed this matchup as an elite chess battle disguised as street violence, and that perspective hits different. He kept returning to one undeniable reality. Control the distance and command the center. Shakur wins the night. Force wild exchanges and close the gap successfully. Teofimo rewrites the script. Tarver highlighted those overlooked details that get forgotten when we're busy trading clever predictions. Physical conditioning, mental metness, the fundamental elements that separate champions from pretenders.
You know, if you see Shakur controlling the distance, giving him angles, keeping that fight sort of in the middle, you gotta favor Shakur. But if he's on the back foot, if he's on the ropes, I mean, that's gonna give Teofimo a lot of opportunities.
That foundation becomes absolutely critical when rounds 9 through 11 start feeling like survival mode. He described Teofimo as a sequence puncher, someone who unleashes both hands in deadly combinations and can transform clean technique into chaotic devastation. That's exactly why Tarver emphasized that Teo needs to pressure intelligently and create bursts strategically, not just explode recklessly, because Shakur will pick him apart methodically if given the opportunity.
To a long, miserable night.
And what makes Teofimo, I believe, dangerous in this fight, he throws both hands in succession. He's a combination type puncher, and that always serves well if you got a real slick defensive fighter in there.
Tarver pulled from boxing history to make his point. When Teo stepped up against Lomachenko or Josh Taylor, he transformed into something special. According to Tarver, the only version of Teofimo that defeats Shakur is that elevated self, laser-focused, dangerous, with clear intention, using footwork to close distance effectively. But he also acknowledged that Shakur possesses the skill set to be the superior tactician.
And like I said, could be, leaning toward becoming the face of boxing, because with Shakur being undefeated, having a big name like Teofimo Lopez on his record, hey, he's going to have to then start.
Perfect timing, surgical counters, and now the physical frame to handle the weight at 140 pounds. When Shakur performs like he did against Edwin de los Santos, he makes elite fighters look completely ordinary. Tarver's final assessment: back the boxer if the strategy executes properly. Worry about the puncher if Teo brings that savage mentality, and understand that this represents a career-defining crossroads for both men.
For both men.
They're going to put him in there with all these big names and see, can he beat one or two more guys and become the real fighter, the king around that 140, 147 division.
There's serious action brewing here. And right after Tarver positioned this whole thing as Teofimo needing to reach his absolute peak just to solve Shakur's puzzle, Wade Clemens pulled back the lens and explained why this fight carries so much weight. Because he stated it plainly, this is elite versus elite in their absolute prime. And boxing rarely delivers that without a decade of politics and excuses getting in the way first. Wade kept emphasizing that this isn't about collecting meaningless hardware, it's about perfect timing, and he's absolutely right. These two have been aware of each other since amateur days, circling like predators for years, and now there's nowhere left to run.
And later.
As Shakur has the same opportunity. This is Shakur's toughest test, no doubt about it. The Williams-Zepeda fight was a tough test because of the style of fight that Zepeda brings, but Zepeda is not the boxer that Teofimo Lopez is. It's just not even close to the same category of boxing ability, technique, skill, experience, higher level. Like, it's not even close. So Shakur is going to have to answer those questions as well. If he believes, and he does, that he's the best in the world, this is how you prove it.
When Wade talked about
the press conference face-off representing the opening psychological battle, Wade wasn't searching for manufactured drama. He was studying body language, direct eye contact, who's speaking through their responses instead of addressing the interviewer directly, because that's where truth reveals itself. He made an insightful observation about Teofimo actually acknowledging Shakur's boxing ability, his movement patterns, his inside-outside versatility, and that recognition matters tremendously. Dismissive fighters get humiliated. Respectful ones come prepared for war. Wade also destroyed the whole boxing culture obsession, pointing out we're too fixated on perfect records and shiny belts instead of examining who you actually defeated. And that observation cuts deep, because Till already demonstrated he'll embrace the challenge.
Fighting Lomachenko, Taylor, whoever's dangerous.
Let's set traps for Teo in the fight continuously, and then eventually turn the temperature down on Teo and essentially try to starve him, right? Starve him of punches, starve him of volume, starve him of momentum and rhythm, right? Like, Teo's a big-time rhythm fighter.
But Wade didn't let Shakur off easy either.
Wade declared this Shakur's moment of truth. The fight where you don't just achieve greatness, you establish it against someone who can strike back and outthink you. When Wade analyzed the weight discussion, the whole debate about Shakur carrying his skills to 140, you could sense the uncertainty without hatred. This isn't theoretical anymore, this is reality check time. The most telling part came when Wade essentially said, styles create fights. But stop pretending De Los Santos and Teofimo belong in the same conversation, because that's boxing fantasy. Wade's perspective made it clear. This fight isn't about social media beef or power-punching displays. It's about whether Shakur's dominance can withstand a fighter who refuses to be controlled, and whether Teo's ambition can remain focused long enough to be effective. That's not marketing. That's pure pressure.
And pressure tells the truth.
With his feet, with his movement, once he gets in that flow, it's a little bit tough to stop that ball rolling down the hill. If Shakur can just be an interrupter in this fight and interrupt timing, interrupt rhythm, interrupt momentum, I could see that being the way he wants to approach it and frustrating Teo.
And right after Wade framed this as a fight about timing,
pride, and who's actually ready for this level of spotlight. Bredman Edwards entered the conversation, sounding like the experienced voice who's already seen this story unfold multiple times and knows exactly where the surprises usually emerge. Breadman basically said, slow down with the dismissiveness. Because treating this like Shakur is simply going to dominate Teofimo is how people end up looking foolish afterward. He recognized what everyone acknowledges. Shakur's reliability is championship level. The man delivers the same excellence every single night. No guessing games, no disappointing performances, and that's exactly why smart money favors his chances. But then Breadman shifted perspective and reminded everyone why Teofimo creates matchup problems when he's locked in. Because raw athleticism combined with explosive power plus supreme confidence can evolve into something terrifying quickly.
But I'm gonna give you a basketball analogy. Shakur Stevenson averaged about 25 points a game, right? But every game he scored about 23, 24, 27, 28. He just have a good baseline. With Teofimo averaged about 22 points a game. Some games he only have 10, but other games he got 50.
Gotcha.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
The basketball comparison he drew was perfect, describing Shakur like a player who scores 25 consistently, while Teo represents the guy who might score 10 or might drop 50 and completely take over the building. That's not unreliability, that's dangerous unpredictability. And unpredictability wins fights when it reaches its peak at exactly the right moment. Breadman also mentioned something people avoid acknowledging. Teofimo Lopez doesn't crumble under pressure. He might run hot and cold, but when the spotlight burns brightest, he's delivered against Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, even Ryan Garcia, and that track record matters more than perfect scorecards. Simultaneously, Breadman didn't ignore the obvious concern, because he directly stated Teo battles when he has to pursue movers, when he forces action instead of setting up opponents properly, which is precisely where Shakur operates best. That's the key warning sign.
The thing is that the guys who've given Teofimo movement and the guys who've tried to press, he hasn't looked good. But when he's made fighters come to him and he could kind of like line them up for his counter punches a little bit better. So he's obviously a fighter that likes you to come to him more than a fighter that likes to come to you and kind of stalk you down.
This fight isn't about physically intimidating Shakur or attempting to overpower him. It's about whether Teofimo can drag Shakur into his chaotic world without completely abandoning smart boxing. Breadman wasn't advocating for Teo necessarily. He was demanding respect for the possibility. Because if Teofimo hits one of those explosive nights, all the safe predictions become very quiet very quickly. This isn't about who appears smoother in training videos, it's about character when everything's on the line. Teofimo hunts for those defining moments. Always has. Searching for those instances where raw chaos overwhelms pure technique, where belief transforms into unstoppable force. Shakur pursues perfection, the gradual elimination of opponent options, the type of victory that doesn't explode spectacularly but leaves lasting impact. Every expert opinion we examined, Tarver, Wade, Breadman, keeps returning to the same fundamental truth from different perspectives. If Shakur maintains the fight at his preferred pace, clean and technical, he creates a long evening of complete frustration. If Teofimo discovers his rhythm without sacrificing discipline, he can change everything in heartbeats. There's no guaranteed outcome here. No predictable ending, just two Olympic champions who've been circling each other for years, finally forced to settle everything while they're still razor sharp, still driven, still extremely dangerous. That's exactly why this matters, because regardless of how it ends, someone's legacy transforms permanently. Share your prediction below. Let's really break this down. Shakur's technical mastery versus Teofimo's explosive unpredictability. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. Catch you in the next breakdown.